With the Republicans having passed their disastrous tax cut, which is massively unpopular, earlier this morning, before it actually went through, media outlets were actually starting to push back on this, again, this disastrous tax cut. Earlier on NBC's Today, host Savannah Guthrie asked Speaker Paul Ryan a very tough question, very interesting question about his tax proposal that will add about $1.5 trillion to the deficit while cutting taxes for the rich and for the corporations. Here's that clip.
And the problem is a lot of CEOs have said, really candidly, I'm looking at a list of CEOs who said, we don't plan to reinvest. What they're planning to do is to do stock buybacks, to line the pockets of shareholders. Let me quote Michael Bloomberg, a billionaire, hardly an enemy of business. He said, CEOs aren't waiting on a tax cut to jumpstart the economy, a favorite phrase of politicians who have never run a company, or to hand out raises. It's pure fantasy to think that the tax bill will lead to significantly higher wages and growth. I'll ask you plainly, are you living in a fantasy world?
No, I have an answer for that. Yes. He's also living in an Ayn Rand novel. Again, this is nothing more than a gigantic handout to the wealthiest American corporations. I mean, for example, you've got the doubling of the estate tax exemption. So that's going to help people who didn't even do anything to earn their money. So just by the benefit of being born rich, born into a family with lots and lots of money, enough to have an estate, well, now you get $20 million tax-free. Well, you didn't earn that money. You didn't work hard and build a business. Your parents did. So why should you get all this money for free? That doesn't make any sense. But that's one of the handouts they have in this bill. There's another one, tax cut for pass-through businesses, which, of course, will allow people to have a much lower tax burden, even if you're running a company. That actually helps Jared Kushner, several members in Congress, as well as President Trump. Wonderful. It also slashes the corporate rate 14% to 21%, gives private jet owners a giant tax cuts, but would end up raising your taxes by the year 2025. So, again, this is a bit of a disaster. But of course, Paul Ryan, the argument from Ryan and the Republicans are like, no. See, I know it cuts taxes for these corporations, but don't worry. It's going to create growth. It's going to create jobs. You're going to end up actually making more money. Also, fairy dust and unicorns will, it will make you rich and happy beyond all comprehension, right? So here's Ryan arguing that right now.
I would compare that anecdote to just the surveys of businesses like the National Association of Manufacturers surveys, which show the vast majority of businesses are going to do just what we say: reinvest in their workers, reinvest in their factories, pay people more money, higher wages.
Let me pin you down on that, though.
The data is really clear, by the way. Workers benefit from this through higher wages. It's not a question of if, it's a question of how much they benefit.
How much they benefit. Oh, it's just a question of how much they benefit. Well, I'm going to show you those numbers in a little bit, but as far as, oh, no, they're going to reinvest in their businesses, they're going to create more jobs. Survey says, nope. According to USA Today, non-financial companies in the Standard & Poor's 500 stock index are already flush sitting with cash, sitting at an estimated $1.63 trillion. Now, the whole purpose of the tax cuts is to give them more money for them to invest, right? But they're already sitting on $1.63 trillion, and we have not had any investment. We're not having an investment boom. In fact, as Guthrie noted earlier, some of the top U.S. companies have said that they plan to use these tax windfall not on investment, but to increase dividends and buy back stock. And also, they're to do mergers as well. That does nothing to help jobs. Actually, a lot of mergers cost jobs. You end up losing more jobs. But what it does is that it increases share prices, and executives end up getting even richer off of this. So, and look, a Bank of America Merrill Lynch survey of more than 300 CEOs last summer found this. The most common ways they plan to spend any profits returned from abroad were paying down debt and doing stock buybacks. Capital investment was a much less popular response. And in the 12-month period ending in September, companies in the S&P 500 had already spent $517 billion on stock buybacks. S&P Dow Jones indices data show, similarly, they've shelled out an estimated $1.48 trillion this year so far on U.S.-focused mergers and acquisitions. And they've also paid out about $414.1 billion in cash dividends to shareholders in the 12 months ending at September 30th, up 5.4% from the prior 12-month period. And it seems like they're using all of their money just to make more money. These uses of cash have been described by many Wall Street pros as a form of, quote, financial engineering designed to keep investors happy by boosting stock prices as opposed to using cash to invest in the future. So, again, they're not going to create jobs because they have no incentive to. This is what they're doing. The whole purpose of this tax cut bill is to make the investors and to make the donors very, very happy by making them even more rich. That's the whole point. It's all, hey man, look, we don't of course we're going to take all this money, and of course we're going to do what makes us richer. We don't care about you. We don't care if you have a job. We don't care if you're paid well. That's the next part of it. We just don't give a shit. All we're here to do is to increase shareholder profit, our profit, executive profit. That's it. These corporations and these Republicans that work on behalf of the corporations and corporate Democrats, they don't care about you. Now, speaking of wages, right? Now, the Republican supposition is that, well, if these companies have more money, they'll boost wages too. I mean, the promise of the tax bill is that Americans will see a lift in their pay of about $4,000 a year because of the tax cuts and economic growth, this investment as well. However, the Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center says the annual lift of workers' pay will not be $4,000. What will it be? About $100. That's it. $100. We go from 4,000 to 100. That is not a big number. That's not exactly the windfall that they were saying it would be to the workers. This bill has proven in so many different ways how monstrously bad it is. Bad for workers, bad for individuals, bad for the government, bad for America. And sadly, now that it's passed, we're about to find out just how bad it's going to be firsthand. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.